Hi, and welcome to a very special live collab of Mind the Model and Commerce Media Matters from the team at Vudoo. People, I know most of you are already sitting down, which is good because I think this is podcast gold. This is, your children will be talking. You'll be telling your grandkids about the day that you saw this collab happen live here right now at South by Southwest. It's big. This is, so I'm glad it's being recorded. So first of all, I'm Nathan Guerra, and with me as always is my podcast co-host, Emily Crowan.
Howdy.
And I'm Paul Blackburn. I am the Chief Growth Officer at Vudoo, but also the co-host of Commerce Media Matters. I've been allowed out on my own. So without my co-host, he sends his apologies, Nick, but he's not very clever anyway. Can we edit that for later, please?
Yeah.
No, that's staying in. Yeah.
There goes my job.
Super exciting, though, because both of our podcasts really are talking about the advent of AI, innovation, creativity, commerce media. There's heaps to cover off today. But just wanted to start it off the way we usually do on Mind the Model. So, Paul, tell us what's your favorite AI model and why, and what was the last thing you used it for?
I've got a lot of favorites, but the one I use the most is ChatGPT. Just started there, invested so much time and effort into it. It's now hard to change the model. And the last thing I use it for, I think we were talking about this in the break, was I'm selling my dad's furniture. So I took photos, loaded it into ChatGPT to ask what furniture it was first, what it was made out of, and can you make a Facebook Marketplace listing that sounds cool out of it for me? And it did, and it sold really well. So that's the last time I used it.
Very good.
Yeah. What about you guys?
Em, what have you done recently?
I mean, it's nerdy, I suppose. But after we launched the podcast on YouTube, I put it into Notebook LM. And then I ask it to come back with the perfect caption for both LinkedIn and Instagram.
Yep.
So on the bus ride down here, I was trying to put on more Instagram content. So I was, quick captions and referencing exactly what it was used for. So
I was writing some JavaScript. So, yeah, I don't know anything about JavaScript, but I was writing it with the help of Gemini.
Well, it sounds like you guys are using it for good, not evil. My son, however, is using it to cheat. So he's writing book reports, but he's learnt prompt engineering pretty well. So he firstly prompt engineers saying, write the book report so that the AI detectors at the school can't pick this up.
Okay.
So that's his most recent usage.
Yeah, perfect. Well, we all use it for the things that are important to us.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Our other question we'd like to ask people is, are you an AI optimist, a realist, or a pessimist?
I'm definitely an optimist.
Okay.
Yeah, I because you got to be. You got to be. I think there's real opportunity out there. I think that, we've got great people. If anyone saw Mo Godot speak earlier in the week, there is an opportunity here for humanity. There might be some, damage on the way, and we'll do some learning on the way.
Sure.
But I'm an optimist around the fact that it's going to create new jobs, not replace them, particularly if people lean in. I'm an optimist because I think that it will provide in, maybe places where they don't have the same advantages for education. It'll democratize information a bit more, even further than the internet does. But yeah, we're going to face some real problems at the same time. But I'd like to be optimistic that we can get through those problems. I don't think we're going Terminator.
So an AI will solve those problems as well, or?
I think people using AI will solve those problems. I still think that AI is a tool. I think humans, we were talking about this actually. It's like, what do you tell your kids around to focus on for their studies in a world of AI, where, like we were talking, you used to learn code and so forth, and now people can just vibe code.
Totally. That's what I was doing earlier.
That's right. I think we can train our kids or tell our kids to have inquisitive minds, to ask questions, to learn to sort of delve deeper with the answers they get from these tools. And humans' minds are so creative. I'm not sure hopefully there's not a time where that can be replaced. It's human instincts, human emotions. Will the machines ever get to that point where they probably can model them? But I'm quite optimistic that there's a role for humans.
There's a role for humans in the future.
I think that's what we have to kind of turn to, because if we're not hopeful about the opportunity for AI, like we don't want to think the world is going to end tomorrow based on, AGI coming and, terminating all of us. Like, I think that's why I find myself to be in the optimist camp, but I'm also a bit of a realist because, to be honest, like, yes, it's advancing, but we're also at South by Southwest in Sydney, like very tuned into the tech and the innovation.
Yeah.
I don't think the adoption is widespread enough. It's definitely increasing, but it's not widespread enough to completely advance every single person's life. I think there's a bit of a growth to happen. So that's why I'm more of optimist realist at this stage.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I mentioned my son. And my daughter. They're great tests for how things are going in the future. You know, they've been able to use natural language, as we were talking about before, to do things. Is great for them. But on the flip side, and to back up your point, I use my mum and my dad, and they're not using AI much anymore. So, like you said, it's not
anymore. But they were using it before, or
sorry,
you said anymore.
Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to say anymore.
Okay.
At all,
I was like,
all.
they were using it and then they rejected it. No.
Yeah. He'd think that's somebody's initials. Like who's Alexander Intelligent Man? Yeah.
All right, cool. Let's jump into some of the commerce stuff. I'm really kind of curious because we saw Shopify, and now
this gets me excited. The commerce space. Yeah.
We're getting in.
Yeah.
Walmart announced yesterday that they are now integrating into ChatGPT. The beginnings of AI agentic shopping. Do you think this is improving the consumer experience right now?
Look, it's a great announcement. We're really excited about it. From a Vudoo perspective, that's kind of the dream that we see is that you should be able to transact from the point of inspiration. And I suppose now you're in a GPT environment. Right now, you do all that conversational piece to find we've got a great case study that we ran where it was like finding a dress for a cocktail party that we ran a sim on. And you do all that work to find the right dress, and it tells you, but then you can't transact there. So you sort of hit a dead point. You've got to go open another browser or whatever else. Announcements like Shopify, Etsy, and Walmart now being able to transact inside, it kind of meets the UX that the consumers expecting.
Makes things easier to ChatGPT as well.
But it's also like it's a tool, and I think consumers, we got to think about the consumer. They get to this endpoint, and now we're allowing them to purchase and so forth. So I'm really excited about what this means for the future. Also for monetization. I mean, you've got all these VCs pouring a heap of money into the dream of what AI is going to do, but do they have a model that's going to show a positive revenue? Sooner or later, the VCs are going to go, where's the money?
Yeah.
Where's the money and where's the road to revenue? And it can't be just on subscription. I mean, these models, the more advanced they get, they just cost so much money to power the rest of it. So there has to be other ways to create revenue. And I think we heard Sam Altman say, I don't think it's going to be straight ads. And so the affiliate model, the shopping model, the service to the user type models are the ones that I think can be really interesting. Certainly why Vudoo exists and why where Commerce Media Matter thinks it should go.
Right. And so that's about reducing friction at the end of the day.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, like you ask it for a recommendation and it gives you it, and you can now just click to buy it. I mean, consumers are already educated this way. They're seeing this in social media at the moment, right? Yeah. We had the influencer marketing guys talk about that. You got the influencer saying, click here to shop now. It's the expectation of a user now that where they get their recommendation from, or where no matter where they are in the purchase journey, if that last point's where they're inspired, they want to be able to shop.
Okay. Yeah, fair.
Yeah.
Well, I'm just thinking about a future where, and bear with me on this one. So let's say, for example, retailers in Australia start to integrate within ChatGPT, and you can click to buy within that user interface. I'm a bit of a data geek myself. The transaction data, the first party data, would be held by both OpenAI because it was done within their platform, and the retailer because they would recognize the revenue at the end of the day. So now you have two distinct companies holding the thing that is so valuable, which is first-party data. What does that do to the future of retail media networks? Does it dilute the value of retailers who do decide to integrate within platforms like ChatGPT?
So it's an interesting question. It certainly rebalances the power, absolutely. If you think about even with those announcements we talked about before, so you've got Etsy, Shopify, and Walmart, and now OpenAI has a view across all of those things. That's a pretty powerful proposition. So I think it sort of rebalances the game back in the power of these big LLM models and so forth because they have that data set. But I don't think it limits the retail media guys with their powerful data sets to do stuff as well.
So you think they're getting all the first-party data?
So look, without trying to talk about the product that we sell at Vudoo, but to use it as an example, the retailer is still seeing the transaction data too.
Yeah.
So what they're not seeing at the moment, so they've got an advantage here too. So Walmart will see the transactions that happen inside the GPT. So right now that's a blind spot for them. They're not seeing anything. They're just seeing referrals coming from there, and that's it. They're not seeing what's happening in there. So they're going to get some new data points as well. They're going to get the prompt engineering that then triggered the transaction and other bits and pieces. So I think there's data in it for the retail media networks as well. And then the thing about the commerce media ecosystem is, how do you unlock that data to find ways to talk to a consumer at the right time? And it's not always going to be in the LLM because you're going to need to have a brand conversation with them to, how does a brand show up in an LLM now?
Yeah. Yeah, I know a lot of marketers are talking about that, about like the change of consumer behavior. And, not everyone's just only going to be in ChatGPT talking about the product fit. They're going to pass by out-of-home placements. They're going to be watching TV or, streaming or, having conversations with friends, following their favorite influencers. I think there's such a demand for how brands will show up outside of that performance space and more in the branding awareness. And I think personally that's where retailers are really going to excel, because at the end of the day, 17% happens on the online e-commerce experience when, a majority still happens in a retailer.
And I think in a world of AI, for a brand, you're going to need to show up in the real world a lot more.
For sure.
To get that people preferring the brand. And that's where retail media, with their bricks and mortar shopfront, have an opportunity on that consumer journey to then have brands show up. That's why I think retail media is really interesting, because you're already going to be buying something from that retailer. And on that journey, you can have another brand show up to talk to someone. So it's a really interesting space for brands. But I think retail media has got to learn how to enable brands to show up in their media. I think we're at the start of that right now. It's very transactional. It's very like a listing. It doesn't allow for a brand to communicate their values like a publisher site does. And I think retail media could learn a lot from the publishing world around how to allow the endemic and non-endemic brands to show up and actually scream their brand values. And that's with great content.
And is anybody doing it well?
Not sure.
Question answered. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, it's early days. I mean, most of the big retail media networks have just got to the point where they've got the infrastructure to actually behave like a publisher.
Yeah.
There's a lot of great people, Qantas does well. Chemist Warehouse does well. The House of Wellness is a brand that the Chemist Warehouse publishes, where they actually publish great consumer content. It also sits within Body and Soul, which is a News Corp website. So their content sits as consumer content there, and they do a very good job. They rely on a business called Medium Rare, who are ex-journos, ex-magazine, ex-digital content producers to do it, because retailers don't do lifestyle content very well. They think like a retailer. I'd say Chemist Warehouse would be one of the ones that are doing it quite well.
Okay. We talked a little bit about brand, but when I think about agentic shopping right now, it feels very much like, from an advertising perspective, you're talking about performance media. I mean, is this taking money from Meta and Google, or is it going to be raising the entire ecosystem? Or what's your thought in terms of where the money's going to flow?
Initially, they're going down the performance route because it's about getting to that transaction, and that's how they're going to attribute where the money flows. I think what we're learning is that there's a lot of value outside of just the transaction. So the interaction when you're not ready to purchase, you're just starting out your journey, and you're able to click on a piece of content and go through the catalog, look at the colors, look at the availability. They're all great data points to then use to retarget, and they're slightly further up the funnel. Initially it's always about performance, because no marketer has ever been fired for being able to go, I spent that $1 and I got $50 back.
Yeah.
But brand is harder to justify. So I think there's some great upper funnel opportunities, particularly with the data that you're going to get. But I think originally it would be performance. So Meta will embrace it because they're great at doing performance.
Yeah, but I mean, people are going to be putting money into ChatGPT.
100%. They will take it out of Meta. They will take it out of Google. I think there is going to be a bit of a rebalancing of power. And OpenAI naturally sees advertising as a revenue raiser because, we love making money in advertising. But I don't know. I think especially with, the development of Sora and like the pivoting towards trying to make a social network, OpenAI, from my perspective, is trying to be that one app for everything. And I think to your point, yes, they are going to go down the route of performance first because it's a natural fit for them.
Yeah.
But it's only a matter of time before they open up shop. I mean, they've already opened up shop in Sydney. It's only a matter of time before they actually start to put ads within the interface itself. And it will come, I think, first from Google because it's a natural, asking. And then it will also come from Meta because Meta, it's just the black box that is known for performance. That's my take anyways.
I mean, it's easy for Google. I mean, they've got a great search business ready to go to put in and supplement your conversational pieces within a GPT and then suggest some other links in there.
Yeah.
Same with Microsoft, with Copilot and the rest of it. They've got an ads business that would naturally fit within there. My hope, though, is that OpenAI does it better than that. And that we reinvent what ads are, that are a bit more friendly. They're not plastered all over the internet, and it's a bit of a cleaner environment. And
more tailored to the consumer as well.
Say again?
More tailored to the consumer because they would know so much about you in the context of who you are. Like, if you've ever asked ChatGPT or your preferred LLM, what do you know about me? And then it comes back with what it thinks about you. You start to give it scared, like, oh, you're pretty on point with, you have a really good understanding of who I am based on how much I ask of you. So think about what advertising would look like in that kind of ecosystem where it could be especially tailored for you.
But I mean, having worked at Google for 12 years, Google knows a lot about you. Trust me. And that's because I always said nobody ever goes to Google and lies, right? You don't go and be like, I'm going to play with Google today. Ha ha ha. No, you go in and you ask a question because that's something you care about.
Probably some embarrassing questions.
Absolutely. Things you wouldn't ask your friends and neighbors, probably.
That's right. I mean, look, I hope we're at an inflection point where OpenAI can clean up this the advertising ecosystem, and it's a once in a lifetime opportunity to kind of to clean up some of the things that we did wrong with the first advertising phase of the internet, where I think it's that clutter. It's just everywhere. I mean, it's
my prediction on that though is like, and you've seen it with Google, is you start off very simple, and then there's an opportunity to make more money by adding another ad spot, and shareholders want more value, and so that just starts off clean and gets more and more cluttered over time, and That's exactly what you'll see with ChatGPT.
Yeah, it'll be a race to the bottom. Like they want to make as much money as possible. Like you mentioned earlier, it costs bananas amount of money to run these LLMs.
Yeah.
It's only inevitable that they're going to try and squeeze it for everything they can, whether that be through subscriptions or, integrations, partnerships, referrals.
All of the above.
All of the above. Yeah.
Yeah.
One thing we touched on previously, and I know I'm a bit passionate about, and you as well, based on your background, is talking about premium content. And
absolutely,
the LLMs, they were trained off of massive data sets online, not all of which that they asked permission and paid for. So a lot of it,
that's right.
It includes
quite passionate about that point. Actually,
copyrighted material. One of my favorite podcasts, the Hard Fork from the New York Times. One of the hosts always has to start with a disclosure saying, "I work for the New York Times, which is suing OpenAI and Microsoft for copyright infringement." Just as a reminder, like setting the stage, we're talking about AI, but we're taking them to court as well. What's your take on this, and what happens to the future of that written news and premium content when AI can just summarize or repeat it and spit it out within the box that you're interfacing with?
That's a huge question. I reckon if I knew it, I would be worth a lot of money to the publishing world. But look, for me, it's an interesting move to see that OpenAI has already seen the virtues of the crap content that's out there. They're leaning towards more qualified, journalistic, triple-check content. They've deleted Reddit from some of its,
they add sources.
It's sources because that's where a lot of the hallucinations are coming from UGC content. I think premium publishers, I don't know what it looks like, but they have an opportunity to play the trust game. You know, they've got trusted journalists that have worked in. You know, you take Vogue, for example. I mean, it's very hard that you've trained your whole life around fashion, and fashion is, you know, is a really difficult subject to have an opinion on. You finally get it to Vogue. You spent your whole life on that. You when you're going to advice, you want to go to someone like that.
Okay.
You don't want to go to the open internet and things. So I feel like the publishers have an opportunity here to play the trusted advisor game.
Yeah.
But they need to disrupt themselves.
Correct.
They need to be having ecosystems that are like conversational commerce. You know, you need to go to Vogue and be able to talk to Vogue like you've talked to a ChatGPT.
Yeah.
So the publishers that sort of embrace that, I think they have an opportunity to play the trusted advisor game. And, you know, you look back at the amount of content that they've got that's been sourced. They like News Corp or not, or like the old Fairfax, 9 Publishing, now or not, they are held to quite a high regard. They have to have their facts checked. There is laws in this country, in particular, that you have to, that doesn't apply to the open internet.
No.
So the information can be trusted above the open internet. So they've got an opportunity to help train models that you can trust.
But it's assuming, at the very best of worlds, not all of OpenAI is going to be trusted content from premium partners.
No. And how do these premium publishers make money in the world of OpenAI?
Yeah.
I mean, they've obviously, some of them have got the opportunity to go to the negotiation table with Sam Altman, and they're getting paid a little bit. But, you know, I look at Google, who, you know, work with publishing models where the publishers have an affiliate model, where they were doing reviews of products, and Google would advise you need to get longer and longer reviews. You need to do more editorial coverage to get that view to appear up in the search result, to then get them in top of funnel to then make their affiliate revenue. And then they launched AI overviews and took 40% of traffic off all publishers internationally, and just absolutely ruined that business model for them. So it's how do we get the money back to the original publisher of the content that did all that hard work is something that I think, you know, that's one of the things that we need to grapple with. And how do you trust the content that's in these models is something we need to grapple with.
Yeah. And I don't think there's a good answer. There's a problem, right?
Yeah.
Well, I can assume what your answer will be, but, you know, we have different tech leaders who are coming to the table to say, let's let AI train on all work. The line between innovation and exploitation. We have old mate Scotty Farquhar, who's, you know, had a bit of an atrocious interview on the ABC talking about how copyrighted materials shouldn't stand in the way of innovation for AI. And then, you know, Michael Miller's rebuttal recently
my old boss.
Yes, going to talk about how, no, it actually needs to be respected, and the copyright is there for, you know, bringing back to the, I don't know, just supporting the premium content and the journalistic standards.
It's the value.
Yeah, the value, exactly
Value of the
right.
content.
What's your take? And is there a line that should be drawn, or do you think that we could kind of waver more towards innovation if it means the models get trained and better, and I guess more trusted content comes from them because they're, you know, training on that premium content?
I like to say there's a room for both. I think, you know, in some of the publishers' negotiations with OpenAI, they're allowing snippets, which is maybe enough to keep doing the innovation. So you do not want to stymie innovation, but you've got to think of the cost that it costs these publishers to create the original content. I mean, if you look at some of the stuff that News Corp has done recently with the Teacher's Pet podcast, where they actually changed laws for domestic violence because it was an investigative piece of journalism that found that a man got away with murdering his wife. That costs a lot of money to do. And so you've got to be able to find a way to fund this. It's got to be a payback. You can't just have ChatGPT come and take all that information and surface it for someone. There's got to be a payback. So there's a happy medium. And I think Michael Miller, knowing him well, would support the innovation piece. But at the moment, it's probably skewed in the tech giant's favor. It's what his point is. You know, how do these premium publishers monetize through these new models? That there's not a clear path for that.
Yeah.
Oh, it's definitely a brave new world out there. It's no one's figured it out, to your point. Like, everyone's just trying to figure out whether that means taking a stand against any kind of partnership or getting in early to have some kind of money flow back through to them.
I'm a big. Yeah.
And there's a mix, right? There's the people that have jumped to do a deal, and there's the people that are standing their ground. I mean, I'd like to see a cost per citation type model.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I think there's some grounds for that.
Then who pays for that?
The ads or the money that comes from these massive audiences that are now going to ChatGPT instead of Google or instead of a premium publisher site.
Almost like a YouTube kind of revenue share model then.
Something like that. I mean, hey, I don't know. I don't have all the answers, but I think it's a great way to start. I mean, it means that the consumer is aware that if you're citing an original piece of content that they can trust it or they can't or they might not trust it.
Yeah.
So the citation becomes an important part of the game so that you know where the content originates from. I think it's important for a consumer as well as the original content producer. And if some of the LLMs like a Perplexity or the rest of it can then work out how to pay. And they won't be being sued by the original copywriters. So it could be a win-win for the ecosystem if they can work out some sort of model that works that way.
Okay.
What about you? I mean, what do you guys? How do you see these models giving revenue back to the people that originally created the content?
It's an interesting one. So I don't see them giving back. I mean, I don't see them. Frankly, like knowing how they work, I don't see them having a really clear, easy way of doing it. It's not like YouTube where you can go, this piece of content I'm showing, and so we can split the ad revenue on it. I don't see them volunteering, and I don't see it happening on an easy level.
So do you think we'll see a lot of lobbying of governments to get behind copyright protection?
I don't really think government's going to step up in the US at the moment. I would hope that Australia does. I would love to see government lobby against the copyright infringement and how the models are being sourced currently. I just don't think that's going to happen. I'm aspirational about it actually coming through, but I don't think it'll happen.
Yeah. I mean, the other thing I see is, I don't know if you guys agree, but the fight back from the publishers is they're employing people that understand these models, so they will cut the information off. But like you said, it's going to take a lot of warring media companies to sort of operate together without colluding. There's rules around that too,
of course,
to stop these models from using their content. So it's definitely an interesting space.
Yeah, I mean, I think licensing is probably the way forward.
Yeah,
and I think that's where the copyright rulings in the States may play out. Like, you may very well say, okay, New York Times owns that content, and they have the right to say, no, you can't have it. And I then think that you're going to see licensing deals for that. But what I think that's going to mean, though, is you're going to continue to see larger and larger media organizations and a smaller number of them, because small organizations won't have the ability to bargain like the New York Times will.
Yeah. Or like the News Corps or the Condé Nast or the big guys of the world. Yeah, and it comes back to also monetization again.
Totally.
To bring it back full circle, because if there is new ways to monetize content for the LLMs, then there's more money for them to then look at models that effectively pay back publishers or do deals directly with the second tier or third tier publisher world. Yeah. But it's an interesting game.
Do you think the pro models will then eventually be made cheap enough that they'll be advertising funded? Like, you'll get that on your homepage unless you want to pay for the subscription? Is that where we're headed?
I think eventually there'll be a ad-funded model. I mean, we've seen it with everything, haven't we? I mean, I remember when I first got Foxtel and the whole sell was no ads. So I paid a subscription fee. Then all of a sudden there was ads, I mean, Disney Plus, and now there's ads, like, hang on. So look, I think we've seen through history that subscription only models aren't able to sustain. You need more revenue streams.
Eventually advertising comes for all of them.
Yeah.
Or advertising, affiliate revenue models, other revenue streams need to be there to maintain it. I mean, you've got other countries like China that don't have the same sort of challenges around funding because the state's funding their developments, and it's scary how fast they're moving. So the American-based tech companies need to find the money and the revenue and the rest of it way forward so that they can continue in the arms race of who's going to have the better models.
Yeah, although they have the additional challenge of a government which is much more concerned about the size of those organizations that the Chinese government don't have, or companies don't have to reckon with.
That's right. That's right. A friend of mine has he's in the AI space. He's just come back from China though, and he was extremely surprised how far ahead they are and we're not seeing it here.
No.
But they're really going ahead. So the AI guys need to find new revenue streams so that they can advance to keep up and not fall behind. From a Western world perspective.
Yeah, I mean, you can with the recent news of the deals with NVIDIA, the chip maker. I think the other one was AGM. Might be messing up those letters, but OpenAI doing direct deals with chip makers, trying to get billions and billions of dollars to fund the innovation, fund the compute power that's required, the amount of energy and water cooling. Like it's absolutely mad how much money is being pumped into this. But I know that they're all trying to race to the top. They think it'll be winner take all once they get to an AGI state where computers are smarter than us. And I think it's the way they're approaching it is, at all costs, innovation at all costs. But, on a previous panel, Nate and I saw the other day, one of the speakers said, well, at what cost? Who's going to fail if there's not the guardrails for safety, if people are, interacting with LLMs and being advised to take their own life. Like there should be some level of regulation, but not to stymie innovation. So I don't know, it's a hard one. Clearly no one solved it because we're all still talking about it. This is pretty much the theme of South by Southwest this week.
100%. And look, the internet is a reflection of humans, and it's a messy, horrible space. And these models have been trained on that. And I want to go back to Mo Gadot, who spoke earlier at this conference. Where I'm an optimist is that we know this, and we can, if we act now to create guardrails, and we all have a voice in this. Every consumer has a voice in this. Every organization has a voice in this. If we can start to think about how we talk to each other, what we put on the internet, create the guardrails, think about the ethics behind all these things, then we might actually stand a chance for a rosy future,
positive outlook. That
optimistic people coming out.
To completely swap lanes from the very hopeful, optimistic viewpoint, let's talk about AI slop.
Oh, yes.
So currently only available in the US, but OpenAI just recently released Sora 2, which is AI generated video. Facebook has Vibes. I don't know who's in charge of creating that name, but it's quite scary to see the videos that are coming out of this where, they're fully AI generated. I saw one that, was reposted on Instagram last night, and it was a baby being born, and then the baby ran off down the hall to the hospital, and it looked real. And it's one of those, like, this is bizarre. Currently, it's being used for, fun videos of friends or, let me have a conversation with Sam Altman on my podcast. But what's your take on the AI slop?
Well, I mean, again, coming from a premium publisher, it's pretty scary because to create a video of the standard that you can do with a couple of prompts costs a lot of money in a publisher, a lot of people power, a lot of technology, a lot of subscriptions to Adobe, that sort of stuff. So it's a scary proposition from there. I guess copyright this is where I think it's really interesting. I think in this space is like, how do we get copyright in this space that that it's, because I'm scared of how good the fakes are. I mean, I'm pretty savvy, but I was just talking about my 78-year-old parents. They're not. They're seeing videos that they think are real. And this is not my kids seeing them. This is the parents seeing them because they are so accurate and real. And it's scary how easy it is to put out communications, to put out videos that seem real, that are fake news. And
I love
it's an epidemic.
Well, and there's a whole stream of content on TikTok and Instagram of people's parents saying, have you seen this video? And them going, Mom, there's no 10-foot tall polar bear in Florida fighting gators. It's not happening. And people are constantly confused by it.
Yeah, 100%. So I don't know what the answer is, but again, I think we need to lobby around guardrails. We need to have the conversations around how we make sure that people are educated around this, because I grew up in a world where you turned on the TV and you watched the news and you trusted the news.
Yeah,
and that was the only people that could create content like that because it was live content or Hollywood at the best, but you knew it was Hollywood.
Yeah.
Now it's all blurred.
Yeah.
Well, do you think it's a passing trend? Like, it's OpenAI trying something new. It's, Meta trying something new. Or do you think it's around to stay where consumers can produce something that looks so real and is so visually engaging that it kind of blurs the reality. And
I mean, how can it go back?
100% it's here to stay. I mean, there are some optimists in this space. So David Droga at Cannes spoke around the fact that, he's a creative and he's excited because he says these tools will allow them to be even more creative.
Yeah.
There's still original thinking that can be synthesized using these tools.
Yeah.
To make even more entertaining content and the rest of it.
Yeah.
That's the optimist view.
Well, and they might both be right. I mean, we might be constantly confusing everyone and nobody believing anything and still being able to make things that are incredibly creative.
And some of the stuff is very funny and entertaining. Don't get me wrong. I mean, I watched one around a dinosaur picking up a baby. It was really quite interesting. It was really quite funny.
Yeah.
But it goes back to that brain rot. I don't know. I think it's a fad. I think it's funny to watch, but then at the end of the day, I think back of my, I'm not on the AI slop apps, but when I do go to Instagram, I want to watch videos that are trusted and real and not fake stuff, because it's funny, but then it's like, okay, we got the lulz, then what? I just think it's the cheap French fries of the internet. It's not going to stick around. That's my take anyways.
Okay.
Well, I mean, I'm with you. I like to know what I'm watching is real, but there's a market for it. I mean,
yeah, true.
You've only got to look at people watching the slop that's already been on YouTube for a long, long time. And people just sit there watching it, entertained, thinking it's real. Or they don't think it's real, but they're entertained by it. And so it's just proliferated that.
It's entertainment. You're exactly right.
Yeah.
And, you bring up the good point earlier about the copyright. That's something that we discussed previously on, train the models, but then also it's the production. You have all the big Hollywood execs who are starting to say, hey, wait a second, that looks like it's created in the likeness of Garfield. No. We have strong copyrights in place for that very reason. But yeah, it is entertainment, but I think it's garbage.
It's entertainment. I think then there's also going to be this trust issue. Like you said, how do you trust? So then are you going to search out, a Disney or a CNN to then view their AI content because at least they're a brand that stands for trust that you've grown up with or whatever, or they are showing the consumer that they're doing everything to ensure that you should trust them, and they're triple checking facts and all this sort of stuff before anything goes into the model. So I'd like to think that there is an opportunity for a return to trust when like you said, people start just going, I can't believe anything anymore.
No, exactly.
So where do I turn to try and believe? And hopefully they turn back to premium publishers, and if they're smart enough, they can take that opportunity.
I guess coming as an American, in the States, you've seen massive amounts of media move off those platforms, though, because people think they're biased. And so people are getting, and then there was a really interesting article about the rise of the far right in the UK, driven mostly by Facebook groups.
Mm.
And those people aren't trusting traditional media. And so that's where we start to get real challenges, because I agree with you. If news is out today that somebody's died, I want to go to the Times or CNN and Fox and see all of that. But I'm not the average person on that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, don't want to go into the depths of the US and the problems there with far right. We're not going to solve it. That is a different podcast altogether, and certainly someone from Commerce Media Matters has no equity in talking about the state of the US and its politics. But yeah, look, but that's an exhibit A, right? Everybody has their brands that they trust and they've grown up with. I mean, to be honest, my sons might be YouTube.
Yeah.
But maybe there's a premium YouTube in the future where he might trust that one. But it's case in point. You're now already going, if there's something that happened, I'm going to go to that trusted source to check it.
Yeah.
The opportunity, like I mentioned before, for which one did you mention? The Times.
Yeah.
Does the Times try and disrupt themselves by, when you go to the Times, you conversate with it like it's OpenAI to find out information into
two-way
content and have a two-way conversation that you can trust because that's your trusted place to go.
Or maybe you can ask ChatGPT for the Times. There might be an integration there as well, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Paul, we've asked a lot of questions. I think we've only got about 5 minutes left. Is there anything you want to ask us, or I know you like to wrap up?
We on our podcast, we normally wrap up with a really quick fire round around commerce. So I'll start on it's just literally word association. So
Okay.
I say a word, and we'll start with you, and you say what pops into your head.
Okay.
So AI,
Everywhere.
credit card,
Debt.
influencer marketing,
Content creator.
South by Southwest,
Austin.
Commerce Media Matters.
Great podcast.
I think that's a great way to end it.
So good.
Excellent. Well, Paul, thanks for joining us here at South Farm.
What a collab, guys. Thank you.
Yeah, it's so
for
great.
collaborating. So I hope people found that interesting, and we'll get it up online very shortly and see how many people listen.
Fantastic.
Wait.
Thanks, guys.
Nate,
Thanks, guys.
Take us out.
All right. Thanks, everyone. And maybe see you next year.
Maybe see you next.
Oh, wait, I've got to do my outro, don't I?
You go to your outro.
Yeah, okay, sorry.
It's your thing.
Yeah, this is our big thing. Okay, hold
Yeah.
on. Wait.
Do you want me to go for it?
No.
Should we shake it up?
Do you want to do it?
I will, but I don't have the neat radio voice, so I'll do the best I can.
All right.
And remember, the intelligence may be artificial, but all the wins are real.
Ooh.
Nice way to finish.
All right.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks, Paul.